Greetings, everybody. Welcome back to Weekly Wildlife Wisdom. As so far, I've been your host, Zero Yeti, and happy Ice Age Week, or simply Ice Age Europe Week, which is a week where we celebrate the many peoples and animals that lived throughout the Ice Age. And although it's specifically focused on Europe, I like to expand that to the rest of the world. So here is 7 awesome animals from the Ice Age. Starting with Sivatherium, which is an extinct genus of giraffid, which lived throughout what was now Africa, India, and southern Asia from the Miocene to the early Holocene, some 7 million to 8,000 years ago. The first remains scientifically known of Sivatherium, consisting of some partial skeletons, were recovered from the Sivatherium Hills in 1836 by Hugh Falconer and probably Thomas Cotley, who described and named the animal Sivatherium, meaning Shiva's beast. Initially, Falconer thought them to be some form of elephant, while Cotley believes them to be an antelope. The correct identification of Sivatherium as a giraffe did not come until Geoffroy Saint-Hilaire identified it as one. However, his theory was not universally accepted until close analysis found the skull horns would have been covered by skin like in giraffes, and not keratin like in antelopes. Today, 4 species of Sivatherium are recognized: S. giganteum, S. haydeni, S. maruricium, and S. oldulavense, reaching 7 to 10 feet or 2.2 to 3 meters tall and weighing around 2,750 pounds to 3,000 pounds or 1,250 to 1,360 kilograms. Sivatherium resembled a modern okapi but was far larger and more heavily built, being one of the largest ruminants to ever walk the earth. The skull ornamentation of Sivatherium is comprised of 2 small ossicones, similar to those of a giraffe, that were above the eyes, and 2 larger horns that rose up from the back of the skull. These 2 horns have been described as moose-like, which is often applied to Sivatherium as a whole, with its general build and large, broad shoulders and relatively long and thin legs. Sivatherium likely also had a powerful neck, which supported and stabilized the head from the additional weight of the horns atop of it. Next up is Wonombi, which is an extinct genus of madsoid snakes that lived throughout Australia from the late Neogene to the late Quaternary, some 23 million to 50,000 years ago. First remains of Wonombi, consisting of a partial skeleton, were uncovered in the town of Naracoorte in South Australia. It was given the name Wonambi from the description by the local Aboriginal people of a serpent of the Dreamtime. This serpent, a mythological being commonly referred to by both Aboriginal people and Europeans as the rainbow serpent, was often held responsible for the creation of many major features of the landscape, including many rivers, lakes, and watering holes. The family of this genus, Madsoidae, became extinct in other parts of the world around 55 million years ago, but continued to thrive on the island continent of Australia, where they persisted well into the Pleistocene. Currently, there are 2 known species, Wonambi naracorensis, which reached 12 to 23 feet or 4 to 7 meters in length, and around 100 to 300 pounds or 45 to 136 kilograms in weight, and the smaller Wonambi barini, which reached around 6.5 to 10 feet, or 2 to 3 meters in length. Although not closely related to pythons, madsoids shared a similar way of feeding by slowly suffocating their prey before swallowing it whole. However, they possess uniquely robust skulls that were unable to fully disarticulate their jaws, which means that even larger examples of Wonambi would have had to feed upon fairly small prey. It is believed that Wonambi would have inhabited the woodlands, grasslands, and scrublands of Australia, spending their time near creeks, watering holes, where they would have ambushed prey such as wallabies, birds, lizards, kangaroos, and other marsupials which came to drink. Next up is Toxodon, which is an extinct genus of notoungulate mammal which lived throughout South America from the late Miocene to the early Holocene epoch, around 11 million to 11,000 years ago. Toxodon was a part of the Toxodonidae family, a large-bodied group including similar, vaguely rhinoceros-like forms. As previously mentioned, Toxodon was a member of the Notiomastodon and one of several now extinct orders of South American native ungulates distinct from living perissodactyls and artiodactyls. It was one of the largest and last members of this order. Some of the first remains known to Western science of Toxodon, consisting of a skull, were purchased from a farmer in Uruguay by Charles Darwin during his famous voyage on the Beagle. Since then, dozens of specimens, including multiple complete skeletons, have been found, and currently 7 species are recognized: T. platanensis, T. burmisteri, T. chapalmalensis, T. darwini, T. insudensis, and T. expansidens, and T. gracilis, reaching on average around 9 feet or 2.7 meters in length, 5 feet or 1.52 meters tall at the shoulder, and 3,100 or 1,400 kilograms in weight. Toxodon was a large herbivorous mammal and had similar proportions to a rhinoceros, with a short, powerful, and vaguely hippopotamus-like head. Toxodon had a well-developed snout and a large barrel-shaped body. It had short, stout legs with plantigrade feet and 3 functional, relatively short toes. The hind limbs are longer and raised higher than the front limbs, having a sloped appearance to the body. Like horses, it had a stay apparatus along the knees to passively lock while standing, which may have meant the animal was able to sleep while standing upright. Toxodon had broad jaws that were filled with bow-shaped molar teeth and incisors that had no roots and were ever growing, or euhypsodont, like those of rodents and lagomorphs such as hares and rabbits. In life, Toxodon would have inhabited the steppes, savannas, and scrublands of South America, where it lived in small herds and fed upon grasses, shrubs, and low-growing trees. Next up, we have Teratornis, which is a now extinct genus of large bird of prey which lived throughout North and Central America as well as the Caribbean and possibly South America from the early Pleistocene to the early Holocene, approximately 2.5 million to 8,000 years ago. First scientifically known Teratornis remains were recovered from the La Brea tar pits in 1909 by Loy Holmes Miller. Excuse me. Who named the animal Teratornis from the Greek teratos, meaning wonder, and ornis, meaning bird. Since then, a large number of fossils, I don't know why I'm stumbling over my words today, and subfossil remains have been recovered, representing more than 100 individuals. And they have been found in locations in California, Oregon, southern Nevada, Arizona, Cuba, and Florida. Today, there are 2 valid species, being Teratornis mariami and Teratornis woodburnensis. A third species, Teratornis olsoni, being possibly its own genus Oscarvis, although this is up for debate. Reach around 2.5 to 3.5 feet, or 0.7 to 1 meters tall, and around 25 to 50 pounds, or 11 to 23 kilograms in weight, with an 11 to 15 foot, or 3.35 to 4.67 meter wingspan. Teratornis ranks amongst the largest birds to ever fly, being over a third larger than even the largest extant condors. It shared many similarities with modern condors, including their wings, which are well adapted for soaring. Teratornis had short, stouter legs and more flexible pelvic girdle, indicating that they were well suited to walking about on land as well as jumping. Teratornis also possessed long, hooked beaks and flexible, wide-opening jaws, indicating that in addition to scavenging on the carcasses of large megafauna, these mammoth birds likely hunted some live prey such as reptiles, amphibians, fish, small mammals, and other birds, which they would have swallowed whole. And then speaking of other birds, although I don't think Teratornis could swallow this one, Aepyornis is an extinct genus of elephant bird which is endemic to the island of Madagascar. Aepyornis first split from its elephant bird relative Geniornis during the Oligocene epoch some 27 million years ago, and existed well into the Holocene till just around 1,000 years ago. The first remains of Aepyornis to be scientifically described were actually several partial eggs found in the mid-1800s, which were found and studied before any physical remains of the birds themselves. with the type species Aepyornis maximus being established in 1851. The number of species of Aepyornis has varied over the years and has been up for debate, with some establishing that there are only 4 species: A. hillebranti, A. gracilis, A. medius, and A. maximus. Some also establish there's only 1 species, A. maximus, or that there are 2 species, A. hillebranti and A. maximus. Recently, a species of Aepyornis titan was placed in a separate genus Wonombi by Hansford and Turvey in 2018. However, even more recent genetic testing shows that Wonombi titan was just a particularly large population of Aepyornis maximus, with the smaller species being roughly 6.5 or 2 meters tall and 520 or 235 kilograms in weight, while the largest individuals reach upwards of 10 feet or 3 meters tall and 2,200 pounds or 1,000 kilograms in weight. Aepyornis were amongst the largest, if not the largest, true birds to ever live. They had heads which bore a straight conical beak, long necks, and large rounded bodies with completely vestigial wings, and massive, robust hind legs. Studies have shown that Aepyornis would have sported fairly weak eyesight, but an exceptional sense of smell, indicating that they were primarily nocturnal, like their closest living relatives, the kiwis of New Zealand. These giants would have dwelled in the forests of Madagascar and fed upon various fruits, leaves, twigs, bark, nuts, shrubs, and grasses, fulfilling a niche of megafaunal browser and mixed feeder, which is currently fulfilled by elephants, giraffids, bovids, and cervids on other land masses. Next up is the Voay, which is also known as the horned crocodile. It is an extinct genus of crocodilian which lived throughout the swamps, rivers, wetlands, and coastal regions of Madagascar until as recently as 50 AD. The first remains of the Voay, known to Western science, consisted of a partial skull, which was first described in 1872 by Grandier and Valent, who originally assigned it to the genus Crocodilus. However, as more remains have been recovered, it has been found that the Voay lineage became isolated on Madagascar and split off from other crocodiles back in the Oligocene some 25 million years ago, with its closest living relative being the dwarf crocodile of the genus Osteolamus, or Lamus. Despite showing numerous similarities to said dwarf crocodile, including a heavily armored neck, back, and tail, and short, deep, blunt snout, in 2007 it was found that they were distinct enough to warrant their own genus, being named Voay, which is the Malagasy word for crocodile. One unusual feature of V. robustus that distinguishes it from other crocodilians is the presence of prominent horns, extending from the posterior portion of the skull, which were actually posterolaterally extended corners of the squamosal bone. Reaching upwards of 16 feet or 5 meters in length and 500 pounds or 226 kilograms in weight, the Voay was the largest predator known to have roamed Madagascar since the extinction of the non-avian dinosaurs, and it would have fed upon fish, birds, amphibians, fruit, mammals, invertebrates, and other reptiles. And Homotherium is an extinct genus of macrauchenia scimitar-tooth cat that inhabited North America, South America, Eurasia, and Africa from the Pliocene to the Pleistocene epochs, around 4 million to 12,000 years ago, making them to be one of the most widespread of all felines of all time, second only to the domestic cat. The first fossils known to belong to Homotherium, consisting of a partial skeleton, were described in 1846 by Richard Owen as a species of Macrauchenia latidans. It wouldn't be until 1890, after several additional specimens were recovered, that one Emilio Fabrini would determine them to be a distinct genus, which he dubbed Homotherium, for the Greek homos meaning same, and therion meaning beast. Over the next century and a half, hundreds of specimens would be recovered, representing over a dozen species, including H. anthiopicum, H. crenantendens, H. crucifonti, H. hadarensis, H. idahoensis, H. iscurus, H. johnstonii, H. latidens, H. nesitanus, H. nidowanhensis, H. sanzelli, H. serum, H. ultum, and H. venezuelensis. Reaching on average 3.5 or 1.1 meters tall at the shoulder and 425 pounds or 190 kilograms in weight, Homotherium was around the size of a modern male African lion. Homotherium had shorter upper canines than other macrodonts, such as Smilodon or Megatherium, but these were still longer than those of extant cats. The incisors and lower canines of Homotherium formed a powerful puncturing and gripping device. Its jaws were adapted to clamp and hold prey while inflicting damage with the canine teeth. Homotherium is notable for its unusual shape and proportions, with a comparatively compact torso and long legs. They had thick necks, large shoulders, and a sloped back, giving them a profile more akin to that of a hyena than of another big cat. These adaptations mean that Homotherium was likely built for energy-efficient travel, and may have used this advantage to wear down prey in a manner similar to how wolves and spotted hyenas will consistently harass prey until an animal collapses from exhaustion. This anatomy, coupled with the findings of multiple Homotherium individuals that have been found to have died together, points to Homotherium being a well-adapted diurnal social pursuit and persistence predator. As always, take care to my guys, gals, non-binary pals. Have a wonderful Ice Age week.